right off the bat today, talking about the unfair persecution of gay men in America.
Yeah, no, it's unfair. Especially gay men that are like astronauts, World War II veterans, vicariously.
Mothers died in 9/11.
Yep, mother died in 9/11. Fishermen, farmers,
drag queens.
Blue-collar drag queens, of course.
This is really a story.
Truly the everyman.
When we boil it down, this is really a story about the continued oppression of drag queens.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Although this one isn't anti-drag queen legislation, it's anti-drag queen behavior.
Well, and it's just sad we haven't gotten to a point where any of our congressmen can be openly drag queens. You know what I mean? Like
I know,
they still have to be
because
closeted.
as soon as they are, tell me why. Tell me why the one congressman who comes out, we find out was a drag queen
Exposed,
and was slaying. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that are hit with charges.
Exactly, 13 of them.
Really, George Santos, the only one out there brave enough, is the one out here being hit with wire fraud.
It's another witch hunt, just like our Lord and Savior Donald Trump.
Yeah.
George Santos is being hit with like 13 felony charges for like money laundering, wire fraud, kinds of other stuff.
A whole bunch of lying, like 2 counts of lying to like a House committee.
He just beat the case, or I guess he just lost the case in Brazil. It was like $5,000 he had to pay back for check fraud. He's just stealing checkbooks and using them. But yeah, George Santos has been federally indicted, and he had to appear in court. It's crazy.
It's like, what? Can we not lie anymore?
That's what I'm saying.
Can no one lie anymore?
It is my God-given American right to lie.
That's right. What happened to freedom of speech?
It's like, why is it, nobody says anything before George Santos wins Congress.
Oh, yeah.
But suddenly he wins Congress and all these woke Democrats want to take him down. Why is it that when people get into a position of power, suddenly they have to face accountability? Come on now. What's going on? Why are we holding people accountable?
What's going on? We are you going to be arrested for lying?
Yeah, if they get him.
Are they going to arrest you for lying about any little thing you've ever done? Are they going to arrest you for going and ringing up organic bananas as regular bananas? No.
We should only be tough on crime when it's like people that are down on their luck already, people that were born into poverty. That's when we need to be hard on crime.
Totally agree.
Because it's something biological there, That's what God ordained for them. But George Santos is a good person.
Exactly, because, I mean, who else would determine your spawn point but God?
Oh, exactly, yeah.
George Santos, all he did was make right. He used the cards that he was dealt.
Exactly. The drag queen cards.
Those ones specifically.
Cards. It was just like a little bit of money laundering, a little bit of theft of public funds.
Exactly. I thought you liberals wanted to celebrate drag queens.
Yeah, exactly.
And now here you are just throwing one's name through the fucking dirt.
We really just don't respect merit anymore. If someone can steal public funds and nobody notices, it's theirs. Come on. He worked hard for those funds.
Come on. It is actually sick that he scammed conservative donors out of money.
Yeah, no, exactly.
To buy luxury clothes. That is sick.
He's on our side.
He's Robin Hood.
Yeah. He is stealing. He's defrauding the people that contributed to his campaign. That's only good for us. Come on.
No, literally, it is strictly good. It is unequivocally just and moral to steal from Republican donors, because instead of that money going to fund some genuine anti-LGBTQ cause, some genuine racist cause, it is going to one man and his quest for personal style.
One drag queen.
Self-expression, dare I say.
And the congressman attire, that's when he's really in a costume. You know what I'm saying? That's when he's really hiding his identity.
That's right.
Because in his heart, George Santos is an ally. Welcome to the resistance, George Santos. But in reality, though, bro's fucked.
Oh, yeah,
what is
he's going away for a long time. He's losing his seat.
Well, Kevin McCarthy's not going to kick him out. There's no chance
he backed him, right?
Yeah, he backed him. And besides the point, with this whole debt ceiling thing, especially that we'll talk about later, Kevin McCarthy doesn't have seats to lose. He needs everyone he can get to hang on to power and sink the U.S. and global economy.
Especially because George Santos wasn't a contentious seat for him in the vote, right? Wasn't he just he didn't have any?
He was
weird
on Kevin
demands.
McCarthy's side.
Exactly.
Well, and the problem is that George Santos sits in a district that Biden won by I want to say +3, +5, somewhere in there. He's in New York, right? So Biden and Democrats generally have an advantage there, but George Santos got that seat, and letting go of that seat basically guarantees that Democrats going to take it. There's no chance he doesn't back George Santos, and George Santos recently announced that he's running for re-election in 2024. He said he's not stepping down,
dude. Oh my god,
he's gonna earn back the public trust.
I love it, and it was also gas that he continued to do financial crimes while being investigated for financial crimes. He had House probes, fucking Justice Department probes going through his finances, and he just kept doing it. At that point, I gotta respect it, because it's not lying out of mouth. It's lying for the love of the game.
Yeah, and like the George Santos story broke after he won, right? Because the Democrats dropped the ball, the media dropped the ball in actually covering who he was, how much he had lied, of course. But it's really funny to know that during that same time, he was continuing his financial crimes, and he just kept doing them. And for some reason, bro is just still there. Like, he's a sitting criminal in Congress right now.
He was never like, oh, my God, yeah, you know, I may have lied to get my seat, but I have my seat now, so I don't really need to. He kept doing it. Kept doing it for personal gain. And honestly, a regular modern-day Robin Hood.
Oh, no. Yeah, exactly. I saw, though, that he is... He's restricted in where he can travel between DC and his district in New York. So, bro, just he is facing almost as much oppression as the J6 rioters did. You know what I mean? Those are good Americans. He's a good American.
He's having his freedom restricted, withheld. He's basically barred.
It's a precautionary tale for speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah, it's a cautionary tale. I guess I can't lie anymore.
Exactly. I can't fight the systems that be. It's fucked up. It's a bad world we live in.
Brother. It's time to get into just
free my man.
Objectively better news going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Free my man. Hashtag free George Santos.
He didn't do nothing.
Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. And, you know, it's Sunday. We record on Sundays. And it is, I'll just issue everyone a happy primary legal guardian of unspecified gender day.
For sure. That's right. Yeah, the woke mob is taking over.
The woke mob.
We can't have Mother's Day anymore.
The woke mob canceled Mother's Day, so that's what we have to call it. According to Ben Shapiro's tweet I saw earlier today. And it always makes me laugh when I see those, because literally I haven't seen a single human being on the planet come from Mother's Day.
No.
And the only time I've seen people say, like, hey, maybe we should be a bit more sensitive on Mother's Day is when people, like, don't have mothers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the only thing I've ever seen is like, okay, also, guys, you don't have to celebrate Mother's Day. It's just like a thing that's like, you know, if you don't have a mom, don't worry. Like, don't feel pressure.
Right, yeah.
And conservatives still can't handle that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with like gender or
being woke
or any. Yeah, none of like the woke ideologies. It's just like, let's be kind to people. Once again, the conservative quest for the median voter is not going well. Because like, come on, you know what I mean? A lot of people are missing parents.
Y'all can't even appear to people whose parents have died.
Yeah, death claims
like
everyone
base.
eventually, right? Like, come on now.
I was ripped from the void only to return back to it.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway. Top of the episode, I'll remind you all, as I always do, to go check out the Patreon. We got some exciting stuff coming up, but if you want to know about it first, be involved in it first, hear from us first, you got to become a patron. Patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's all there for you.
Come on, what are you doing?
And we just recently hit our goal. So special announcement, in 2 weeks, 2 Fridays from when this comes out
Friday,
on Wednesday.
May 26th.
26th, I believe. Yeah. We're going to be doing our special live stream patrons. We'll have special access to some of the things that we're going to be doing.
We'll figure out what those things are.
Exactly.
Maybe you can help us figure out what those things are. And hit us with some ideas.
Yeah,
what do you want to see out of the live stream?
Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want us to talk about, what kind of things you want us to watch or do. You can send that in on Instagram, message us on Patreon. We'll probably see it on Patreon first.
Absolutely.
Just because that's where we always are. You know, we're always checking those DMs. But we hit our goal.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing that. And we thank you all for getting us there. It's really warms my heart.
Never thought I'd see a dime from doing this, and thought I'd probably quit after like 6 months.
That's crazy.
No success.
Now we quadrupled that just about.
That's
you know
right. That's right. We're all on episode 97.
That's right.
Almost 100 episodes. Something will probably come of that.
Oh yeah.
I have no idea though. We'll figure it out though.
But also a sad announcement. Patreon for some reason is taking away the goal system.
What?
I have no idea why. They're just taking it away.
Man.
I think I was reading up on it, and according to like Patreon's post on it or whatever, they were saying that a lot of people don't use it, and the people that were using it, it wasn't even pushing them to hit goals. But that's not the case for us.
That's crazy.
So I guess we're just, once again, working harder than everyone else.
No, literally. We're setting the curve for everyone. You know,
we'll still like set goals. It's just the function won't be there. It won't look all nice, where it's like,
yeah, it won't be like this much of this much raised. It'll more so be like, great job, guys. Great job, everybody. We're trying to push through that next goal. I'm just going to have to shill a bit harder.
Exactly. But we hit our goal, so we're going to be doing a live stream. If you want to be there live, it'll be on YouTube. You'll see it. It'll be fun. You can join the chat, participate, become a patron.
Last one was a great time.
It was a great time.
We had some wonderful discussions with the people in the chat. We were chilling. We were up till we were up for a couple hours.
Long time.
Even past when the news was going on, because it was the election stream. If you know, you know.
Exactly. But you could also check us out on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Support us in every way that you can. We always love it. We'd love to see you guys all over interacting with us. We always try to respond. You know how it goes.
And speaking of ways to support us, you already know what to do. Completely for free.
Oh, yeah. All free.
Head on over to Apple. Drop a 5-star review, just like these wonderful people
we got
that
many.
we're about to read. Many.
The first one here is from Harley Lane. This is my favorite podcast. Harley says, "Hi, I found you guys on TikTok doing the episode regarding the Tennessee 3, and I absolutely loved it. I grew up in a super conservative household and felt as if I could never have my own opinion around politics. After going through my early 20s, I started to realize I didn't agree with like anything they had to say. I love listening to you guys because you have such an intelligent way of going through current political news. Wow. So now when all I get called is a crazy liberal by my conservative family members, I have plenty to say back after learning a lot from you guys. Don't stop making these. I appreciate you guys. You know, we are out here creating the next generation of annoying debaters.
100%.
People that we are giving you the tools to piss off your parents and take away their ability to respond.
I love it. It helps me sleep at night knowing that you have the tools to escalate family arguments instead of just getting walked all over.
Yeah.
You have the tools to fight back.
Cool, calm, and collected. And you're like, okay, Dad, but did you know this? Hey, Mom, are you aware of this though?
Mom, but Mom, at 4357 episode 94 on Head in the Office, Jeremy and Gage said this.
Exactly. Any issue, we got you.
That's right. That's right. The next review, I've been meatball pilled by Kelsey in the press box. Hi guys, I found Hiddo at the beginning of the year through the Clock app, and I'm so glad I did. As an aspiring journalist who has just graduated from high school, hearing Jeremy and Gage thoroughly discuss the news, politics, Steven Crowder divorce drama with the kind of Gen Z humor that I have is incredibly refreshing. I've been able to debate conservative/moderate members of my family or classmates succinctly and efficiently because of how good these guys are at dissecting the aspects of politics that I wasn't as good at articulating, like economics and why billionaires aren't actually the Sigma males of your dreams.
Oh, my favorite
I
topic.
will try and shed my Wednesday weenie status over the summer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what this coming election cycle has for us all. Lord help us. Keep up the good work. Love from a fellow Midwesterner. Kelsey, go Bears and Hawks and Cubs.
That's right. Absolutely. You know, maybe consider shedding that Wednesday weenie title.
That's right.
Consider doing that before USD collapses. To ensure that we can continue operating through the coming apocalypse.
Yeah. Before the clock strikes midnight on May 31st and the dollar goes into hyperinflation, you want to make sure you're grandfathered into that $10 spot because it's going to have to turn into like a $50,000 a month spot.
Who knows if we'll even be using
just
dollars.
To keep up, you know? Yeah, no, and we might have to switch to CAD.
Yeah, exactly.
God forbid.
Who knows?
God forbid we have to use
States.
that. Oh my goodness. And just, I wish you a very good luck going into journalism in college and having to debate with those fucking guys. All the conservatives in there have got to be awful. I can only imagine.
Yeah, stay away from the woke mob. Don't let them get to you.
Exactly. Join YAF.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on to our next review here. AJ in Texas by Redacted the CEOs. I'm not going to even guess what that means. Could mean something nice. Love them.
I'm not even going to bother speculating because
it doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. They say, love the show. As a future high school teacher and a current grad student at UT, I look forward to this podcast every Wednesday or every Weenie Wednesday. Your UPS segment last week inspired me to hijack the review segment to talk about my former employer, the USPS, United States Postal Service, for the newbies in the chat.
Exactly, for the layman.
Yeah, like UPS, post office employees worked throughout the pandemic in dangerous conditions to get Americans the medications and goods they needed. Now Louis DeJoy, he's an op. I hate that guy. Under Trump and now Biden has enacted systemic attack on employees of USPS, which has included slashing the pay of carriers, closing offices, and massive amounts of mandatory overtime. Unlike UPS, the employees of the post office are not legally allowed to strike. This means that the only thing we can do is continue to harass our lawmakers, legally, I'm sure, within the boundaries of law and civil society.
Yeah.
Continue to harass our lawmakers to ensure fair treatments of workers and access to PO services for all Americans. Thank you for creating this platform for change and discussion. Once I transition from broke college student to broke high school teacher, I will upgrade to a Sunday supremacist, but I hope the fellow listeners can beat me to the punch.
Oh, my goodness.
What an excellent review. Sorry to hear about your trials and tribulations over at the Postal Service. Also, the phrase mandatory overtime to me is crazy.
I was just about to say that. That's what I was thinking as soon as it came up.
You hear overtime, right? And you already think that's in excess.
Yeah.
Because, definitionally,
like
it is.
That's much more.
But they can require you to do overtime? That's crazy to me.
And then, some people, some salaried workers can have to do overtime and just not be paid more for it. What?
Yeah, no. We don't mess with any legal restrictions on striking. You should always be able to do that.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Top Tier Podcast by Matt David, 944-836-495.
Perfect.
As a 21-year-old guy living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, after moving from Philadelphia, it's near impossible to talk to anyone about my political leanings. It's absolutely top tier having a couple handsome comrades help me commit time theft at UPS
wow.
until the sweet strike. Keep it up, boys. Hoping to shred the Wednesday weenie status soon.
I don't know if this was Matt David that left the same comment on our YouTube, but somebody just like commented that they use watching our YouTube videos for
strictly for time theft
at UPS. So I don't know if this is the same person, or maybe we just have a large demographic that works for UPS.
Gotta be
that we have since radicalized with our coverage last week. I hope that's the case. At
this point, oh my goodness.
Our last Apple review here is from Nathan V. Young, a refreshing podcast for lefties. He says, I found Hiddo while browsing for political podcasts, and it's been a favorite of mine to listen to each week. Where I live in Alabama, the state Democratic Party has imploded, and in the city where I live at, Tucker Carlson was here just speaking to an organization helping those with disabilities. Being someone with a disability, this made me upset. Hiddo gives me something great to listen to with two guys who know their politics and current topics and have the same viewpoints as myself. I often take what Jeremy and Gage talk about and talk about it myself on social media feeds, and love all the hate comments I get. Keep up the good work. We're just creating, again, a new generation. The next army platoon of people who just eat up the hate comments.
Posters, even just a new generation of posters, all fueled by Hiddo Media LLC.
Yeah, Mark should be proud.
You know what
We're gonna be a shadow organization before we know it.
Oh, that'd be so sick. Also, like, I just gotta wonder what Tucker has to say to people with disabilities. Like, dude's unequivocally evil.
Well, yeah, dude's evil, but he does that populism. You know,
that's true.
He appeals to the average American. Like, they've left you behind, and it's like, Tucker, you're kind of the reason for that.
You're also actively doing the leaving behind.
Yeah,
but now you're doing it to their faces.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got one review coming through on Instagram here from a Spotify listener from Colt. Figured I'd get around to writing a review after giving y'all your well-deserved 5-star review on Spotify.
Cute.
Absolutely the best source of leftist indoctrination for this queer femboy from Northwest Kansas, i.e. 5 miles south of the middle of nowhere. Hope this is where I'm supposed to put my review. P.S. If you ever plan to do an episode on guns, I'd love to offer my services as a firearms nerd if you wish. Hope this finds you well.
Crazy. We've had a couple of people reach out about being on the pod recently.
We gotta get another guest on.
Yeah, we gotta set up some kind of guest thing.
Maybe we'll have Mikhail back.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, that was a good episode.
We'll figure that out in the future. It's a problem for a different version of us.
So true.
But for right now, it's time to get into our news coverage. We gotta talk about the Trump CNN town hall to start off, and then we'll talk about the debt ceiling a little bit, which is kind of tied in with this. Then we gotta talk about some really bad stuff.
Yeah, some very bad news then.
Yeah. Starting off with the Trump town hall, though. So as many of you probably know by now, last week, Wednesday night, CNN hosted a town hall in New Hampshire, moderated by Caitlin Collins, who is a member of CNN, but also formerly was the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, very
absolutely
conservative.
Blew my mind. Tucker Carlson writer, worked with Tucker. What the fuck?
Yeah, basically could have worked for Fox News, right?
Yeah,
very conservative.
Could have gone either way.
News organization. Apparently, CNN was copyright striking people who streamed this or watched it after in like a form of a YouTube video. So it's a good thing we didn't do it, because I guess we would have got hit.
Yeah,
for no reason. We were considering watching it live with you all, but
I was just busy that night.
Yeah, well, it worked out. I didn't want to get a copyright strike, but CNN said nobody gets to watch this except people that tune in directly, I guess.
Just ratings whores.
Yeah, no, they're crawling for scratching for those reviews.
I mean, it makes sense though, because like another thing I learned about this, just looking at like all of the background surrounding the town hall, CNN's like the worst news organization. Yeah. Like they get the lowest ratings. I didn't know MSNBC was pulling more views than they were.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that blew my mind.
CNN's been in trouble for quite a while now.
Huh?
You remember when CNN Plus just like collapsed immediately?
I didn't even remember CNN Plus. That's how bad it must have been, honestly.
They launched and then shut down like immediately because nobody signed up for it. Because it's like, who wants a subscription-based CNN? I don't even want to look at CNN.
That's dog shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that kind of plays into why we ultimately think they took this Trump town hall. But let's get into let's do a quick run of show. We'll talk about exactly what happened, important points that Trump brought up or just kind of went on and lied about.
Quick highlight reel.
And we'll discuss our take on it generally. But first, to start off, I thought when Trump got on stage, he already looked like he looks old now. He looked pretty exhausted. He's not top of his game anymore, I don't think.
He doesn't have like in his body language, he doesn't have that youthful fervor.
Yeah. Immediately, the question is about January 6th and the 2020 election, which Trump still can't admit he lost. Caitlin Collins tries to push back. And this is sort of a theme throughout the entire town hall, but she doesn't push back all that hard.
No.
And Trump, and I don't even know if she can push back all that hard because it's not a debate, right?
And it's also
but Trump
like,
just kind of goes on about the lies.
After Don Lemon, because like this is another thing. It's like I honestly do believe that Don Lemon was fired for his pushback on Vivek Ramaswamy.
Okay.
because of the way that the CEO of CNN has wanted them to become a more moderate thing. So I feel like she also just couldn't because she's worried about her job. But that's shitty and dumb and stupid. You know,
she's also like conservative though, right?
And she worked for the Daily Caller, so I feel like she didn't really want to push back that hard.
Right.
But all of her pushback really consisted of, but like, was it really stolen though? We have evidence to suggest it wasn't. And then she just let him talk over her and dominate the conversation.
And then on the point of January 6th, Trump said that January 6th happened because this isn't a direct quote, but something along the lines of it happened because they thought the election was stolen or they knew the election was stolen. Which to me, like, how does this not directly implicate him in a crime?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's many answers throughout this entire town hall where he is just, like, admitting to crimes he committed or implicating him in various crimes. And, I mean, not that anything's going to be pressed against him because we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought that was crazy.
When he's the guy saying the election was stolen, and then they do something on behalf of him for the election being stolen, I don't know. I feel like that kind of directly implicates you.
Yeah.
It was also sick because he's talking about January 6th and he goes, yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day that day was. But actually, you know, the unrest is Nancy Pelosi's fault because she's the one that heads the Capitol Police. And then he got pushed back. She said, but what about you running the National Guard? And he's like, they could have called me.
Yeah.
So it's really Nancy Pelosi's fault. There was unrest, but it was also very peaceful at the same time.
There was a pretty crazy moment where Caitlin Collins is asking him about the timeline on January 6th, saying, she was saying, like, well, why didn't you, tell people in a video or come out and speak, tell people to, like, calm down sooner?
She said, why did you wait 3 hours?
Bro pulls out a printed version from his suit jacket pocket of his tweets with a timeline, and it only affirms what she was saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, he reads the timestamps, and that's exactly what she was describing. But yeah, he had it printed out, which means he was prepared for this line of questioning.
It was kind of sick.
Yeah.
That moment made me crack a smile.
It was funny,
seeing him
right?
pull out screenshots of tweets from his suit jacket and just going, actually, at 11:29, I said this.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was one of those like charming Trump moments, right?
Yeah.
You were like, okay, this is kind of funny. And then Trump went on about the passage of the Electoral Count Act. He said the passage of that law was proof that they could have changed the results of the election before. And if you don't know where he was going with this, if you were watching, the idea basically is that after the election, when Trump was telling Mike Pence that you need to change the result, you need to send the electors back to their states so that we can, overturn this election. The idea that Democrats had and some Republicans that helped them pass this was to pass a law that made it even more clear that the vice president can't do that.
Yeah.
That's what the Electoral Count Act was. But Trump took the passage of that law to mean that Pence could have done it before, and they changed the law to make sure he couldn't do it in the future, which is like, what do you even say to him at that point?
You should just avoid getting to that point because once you're debating like the minutia of policy,
right,
like during a town hall where Trump really already has the upper hand just by being there, you already lost the plot and you already fucked up as the host.
And then he brought me right back to 2020 when he brought out BLM and Antifa in Portland and Minneapolis. I thought that was I felt like I was right back there. Great.
All the talking points were crazy.
Yeah, and at this point in the debate, you immediately recognize that CNN made a huge mistake in having just a bunch of Trump supporters in the room. And they said undecideds, but the whole crowd was cheering for him the whole time, especially when we got to the point, and this is something that we haven't really talked about much on the show yet, the sexual abuse charges by E. Jean Carroll that he was found liable, Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse against her in a recent civil proceeding. And he was asked about this by Caitlin Collins. And he, went on, same thing he's been saying, I never met her, I don't know who this woman was, and the crowd clapped it up. They loved it.
They loved it. They ate it up. The crowd was absolutely cackling the whole fucking time. Anytime he did one of his, like, I don't even want to say one-liners, but just like, I don't know, Trumpisms, they just ate that shit up, and they're smiling, and they're howling.
Oh my God, yeah.
Sometimes you couldn't even hear him talk because they're laughing so loud. Like, they really it felt like Donald Trump doing his own stand-up routine. That's how badly this went.
He did some, like, mock recounting of the events from the perspective of E. Jean Carroll.
Yeah.
And he was making fun of her, and they loved it. And he was saying, I never met her, but at the same time, he has a picture with her.
He said, I never met her. I got a picture with her, but I never met her. But also, like, what kind of woman wants to go into a broom closet and do hanky-panky? Yeah. That's not, like, a direct quote, but that's basically what he said.
That. And then he swore on his children he never met her.
Yeah.
So I wonder if Eric, Don,
had to have been on Donald.
They're just going to die now.
Had to have been swearing on Donald.
Yeah. They're just done now. So that was a pretty gross time. And that really gave me, at that moment, I was like, yeah, this is not going very well. This is just going to get worse. Because they're just laughing it up, right?
Yeah.
They just love his presence and they love him.
They're like ardent supporters.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how bad CNN fumbled the bag.
It was full of old white dudes and then like college kids who look stereotypically Republican. You know what I mean?
One of the college kids who asked the question about Ukraine was just a young Republican.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I'm really excited to vote for you for the first time I ever vote, Mr. Trump. Like, come on.
What a bad country.
These are the people CNN got?
Yeah. And then when Trump was asked about the economy at the town hall, he said the number one thing he's going to do for the economy is drill, baby, drill.
Yep.
And I still love this talking point because drilling still occurs under the Biden administration. And in fact, I fact checked this because I wanted to make sure, Biden has done more drilling, has offered more drilling permits in his first year than Trump did in his first year. Like 1,000 more drilling permits in his first year. It's like, and there's no sign of this slowing, right? Like Biden once every 2 months opens a new pipeline on indigenous land and gets flack from the left. Mm-hmm. There's no sign of this slowing down. It's just a stupid Republican talking point they keep making up.
And it's like there's no pushback.
Of course, right.
There's no fucking pushback. There's nothing that she's going to say. There's nothing that she even really can say, I guess. And especially once we get to more like of the election denial stuff, because she tries to press him and she tries to say, will you commit to accepting the results of the next election? Which is already like bad framing because you know what Trump is going to say. And then he turns around and he says something along the lines of, yeah, I'll commit to it if it's fair.
Yep.
If it's a good election, then I'll do it. But if it's a bad election, no, I won't.
It's like, yeah, obviously he's going to say that.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he goes, if it's a good election, I'll win.
Yes, yeah. It's literally like bar for bar the same line that he gave in 2020.
Yeah.
She asked him about mail-in voting. Bar for bar, it's the same line, even though he says like, yeah, I mail-in vote, but I don't know where it goes after. It's like, what do you mean? Like he's once again calling into question the legitimacy of our voting methods, the legitimacy of the outcome of an election if it's not him that wins. He's just doing all the same stuff, receiving so little pushback, and we're somehow surprised. We somehow haven't learned in the last 8 years that this is who Donald Trump is.
It's like they engineered the question specifically so that he could just get out these talking points again, because there's no reason to press him. You're not going to get him. You are never going to get Donald Trump to be like, yeah, I'll accept the results of the election. Right. Just like a blanket say he's never going to be like, yeah, you know what, I lost fair and square. You got me, guys.
Yeah, you think he's ever just going to sit there and be like, yeah, you know what, I actually really respect democracy.
Especially on CNN.
Come on,
the place he tried to sue for defamation like a couple months ago. Like, come on. You're not getting that out of him. It's such a stupid line of questioning that just makes you look bad.
It's like people still treat him as though he is a normal interlocutor in our political systems, right? Like they still treat him like this liberal, civil-minded discourse for politics is going to work on him. And it clearly doesn't. We knew that it didn't work on him after he won in 2016, and we still know it doesn't work on him. Like he doesn't engage with that. He's going to continue to lie. He lied several times throughout the town hall. You're never going to get him to admit he's lying. It's just not going to happen.
Especially about the not more niche stuff, but like the more like not explicitly lie things, right? Like the election thing, like there are more layers to the election thing than Biden drilled more than Trump did.
Right.
You're never going to get him to admit those, especially when you can't get him to admit the easy ones.
Yeah. Yeah, even when you bring up his record in court, he went like 0-70.
Yep.
He never won a court case on that. Even when you point out all
in fact, his attorney got disbarred.
Yeah. you can point out all the flaws in his legal strategy or how he dealt with the 2020 election or January 6th or whatever it may be. He's never going to admit it, especially when the crowd there is in support of him and he just feeds off the energy of the crowd.
Oh my God, it's like he was doing a late night show and she was the guest. That's he really just fucking flipped it on her.
That's crazy, bro. It was the Trump town hall for real. She was the
Trump town hall.
Yeah. On the debt crisis, though, on the debt ceiling that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show, Trump, he just started lying, of course, because that's what Trump does. And he said that he was going to pay back all of the debt despite also running a deficit every year he was in the presidency.
Despite running the biggest deficit, I think, ever.
Yeah. And like, of course, part of it's because of COVID, right? Like
before
you can
COVID.
Put that on COVID. But yeah, even before COVID, he was running a super large deficit. We haven't run a surplus since Bill Clinton, of course. And then Trump said, when asked about the debt ceiling crisis and the current negotiations with Kevin McCarthy, he said Republicans should make the United States default on the debt if the White House won't cave to cuts. He just said it.
Word. We should collapse the country.
Yeah, no, he literally said, like, and she pressed him on it, and she was like, well, you said that the debt ceiling should never be a bargaining chip. And he was like, yeah, well, that's when I was president.
That was my favorite moment.
Yeah.
That was my favorite moment. That shit was...
And they laughed.
That was such a Trump thing. When he just goes, well, yeah, of course, when I'm the president, I don't want him to do that. But when someone else is, why not?
Yeah.
Like, he's just admitting to you right there that he has no principles at all.
And you know what? I kind of appreciate it for that. Like,
Yeah.
He's coming out and saying, like, all that matters is political power and leverage.
He's the realist politician. He really is.
Like really bad, of course. But he is, like, just coming out and saying, like, yeah, you should do this if... Like, Mitch McConnell would never say that, right?
Oh, God, no.
Like, he'll pretend to have principles. Like with the SCOTUS thing, when he was blocking Obama's nomination.
He's like, well, actually, those were under different circumstances.
Right.
You see, that was, like, different times. This is different because X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Trump's just up there just no.
Basically, same context. He blocked Obama's but didn't block Donald Trump's.
Yep.
And then he would never come out and say, like, oh, well, it was different because it's giving us political power. Trump will come out and say it, though. And he'd be like, well, yeah, it's different because I'm here, right? But yeah, that was crazy. He said, let's sink the country. He also said it's all psychological when it comes to the debt ceiling when, no, it literally isn't.
Yeah.
We won't have money to pay for things.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
bills.
Trump, I agreed that it's like a fake thing that we don't have to adhere to, but it seems like that's a niche idea and everyone else is adhering to it. Yeah. And I'm going to get fucked if we default.
He, of course, also said that Democrats have used the debt ceiling against him, which they didn't. There's no precedence for this. No, Democrats have never. They've always just raised it under Donald Trump, so I don't really know what he's talking about. Moving on to abortion, though, he said that Dobbs was a great decision.
His biggest blunder.
Yeah, no, this was a huge blunder for him on the stage. He said that Dobbs was a great decision, that being the one that overturned Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
And he said that something along the lines of, like, every president or every Republican president has been trying for decades to overturn Roe v. Wade, and I did it.
And that's the quiet part. That's the quiet part that he's absolutely not supposed to say out loud.
Didn't prep this answer at all.
No, this was off the cuff.
He also said, like, he claims victory for Roe v. Wade being overturned. And then he said a very small number of people were against that decision. And it's like, what are we talking? Like, I mean, again, just patently false, right?
Yeah.
It's like 70% of the country's in favor of abortion rights.
It's insane. It's especially insane when we consider that I think it's like a good chunk of why Trump lost in 2020. It was because suburban women flipped, didn't they?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It was suburban women flipping for
voters,
Biden,
yeah.
And now you're going to get even more of that if he is to become the GOP nominee.
Yeah, especially because he could not. And again, you got to keep in mind the context here.
Yeah.
We're in the early stages of the 2024 primary for Donald Trump, or just generally the election cycle that's going to occur. And because Donald Trump hasn't gotten on the stage with any Republicans yet, who knows if he will, right? We're hoping he will.
He says he won't, but I really want him to.
Donald Trump hasn't gotten on the stage so far with anybody but Caitlin Collins. And for all intents and purposes, this is really the kickoff for the election in my mind.
Yeah.
And so Donald Trump, again, hasn't been pressed on this by anybody else. If at some point he agrees to a federal abortion ban, like Caitlin Collins was trying to get him to say, I think that basically secures the dub for most Democrats on the ticket coming up in 2024.
Especially after that kind of killing the Republicans' chances at the midterms.
Yeah.
Only reason why Democrats had just this unprecedented win, unprecedented victory in the midterms last year was because of the Dobbs decision, because of abortion rights. And they've put themselves in the corner where all the Republican candidates are having to come out as very pro-Dobbs, very pro-life, and it's not going to work. It's alienating. It's the reason they've already lost. And other Republicans have kind of moved away from this. Like, your media types don't really talk about abortion anymore. Your Ben Shapiro's have already got away from it. We covered Charlie Kirk, 6, 7, 8 months ago at this point, being mad at Lindsey Graham for bringing up a national abortion ban in Congress when it's like, that's your end goal anyway. But we're not supposed to do it now because of the midterms, because of our election chances.
And Trump kept trying to pivot to, like, well, they want to kill the baby in the 9th month or after it's born, which of course was never a thing.
Oh yeah, happening. This dude gets on the CNN town hall, gets on 3 million people watching, and he's like, yeah, Democrats want to actually, like, have you have the baby and then decide if you want to kill it within the first month. And there was no pushback.
Right.
There was no pushback to that.
That's one of the easiest, like, 1% of abortions happen in the third trimester. Come on.
Or just be like, that actually doesn't happen. Just no.
Yeah, no pushback on that point whatsoever. I appreciated her trying to get an answer on the federal abortion ban because he wouldn't even give a week threshold, like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 15,
that's
whatever.
Like a good one to get him on.
Right.
That's a really good one to get him on.
But he wouldn't give an answer for it. He kept saying, oh, well, I'll just, I'll negotiate and we'll get something that we're happy with. But yeah, Republicans
I'm for exceptions. I'm for rape. Not for rape. Well, yeah. Unfortunately. But 4 exceptions for rape, incest, and
Life of the mother.
Life of the mother.
Yeah, exactly. Trump did say that, of course.
So it's like, okay.
Yeah, he wouldn't give an answer. He did not perform very well on this section whatsoever. I thought it was a big blunder for him. So we'll see what happens with that. But again, if Trump ever has to come out with an answer for that, I think that will determine a lot of what happens. Because again, abortion restrictions didn't win anywhere in the country.
That'll probably deter that. I feel like that would probably boost some opportunist Republicans in the primary if they wanted. Well, not in the primary because that's all GOP voters.
Yeah,
it's a really weird issue because they really all have to come out as pro-life.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the primary, right, if you're expecting the most extreme people to show up, the most ardent GOP voters to show up, then you would think that you'll get the candidate, I mean, if it's not Trump, but I'm assuming it's going to be Trump, you'll get the candidate that has the most extreme views on abortion, probably, at least in like local and statewide races.
Because it is
such
like a pressing issue,
right.
like you have to talk about that. You have to talk about trans issues. So you got to get the biggest people.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that, but who knows? Who knows? Trump then said, moving on to immigration, he literally just admitted he's going to re-implement policies to rip families apart. He said, "Oh, that'll keep them from coming to the border," except it literally doesn't,
dude.
Because he applied the policy to people, right? Like,
yeah, he already did it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
One, and then two, there was another crazy thing he said. He was talking about like, well, they're projecting like 2 million people, 4 million people are going to cross the border. It's really going to be 15 million.
Okay, well, it's going to be 30 million.
It's really just going to be 15 million, actually. So you guys better be ready for that. Actually, it's going to be 100 million. Actually, all of Mexico is crossing the border right now as we speak because Title 42 is over.
It's so like he just gets to make stuff up. It's so good.
She didn't push back. She didn't.
But again, he said he's going to re-implement that same policy he had of tearing families apart. And again, he once again just admits that this is the policy he wants because it'll prevent people from coming to the border, which of course it won't, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, we should execute people that commit any crime that'll stop crime, which it won't.
And there's precedent. Again, he did it. It didn't work. People kept coming over. I digress.
And then he said, oh, but Obama built the cages. It's like, okay, maybe, but you used them.
And you want to take credit for them.
Yeah.
Like, you like the cages. You love the cages.
The last major thing that they talked about was the war in Ukraine. Some person asked the question in the crowd about it.
Oh, that was the college student that was really excited to vote for him.
Yeah, if they're going to continue to give weapons to Ukraine to fight against Russia. Trump wouldn't give an answer on if he wanted Putin or Zelensky to win, which I thought was interesting. He just wouldn't answer it.
He's like Putin, strong guy, made a bad decision with the invasion, but strong guy, great guy, even love that guy.
And then he said if he's president again, that he will end the conflict in 24 hours once he sits them down.
He's like both sides, strength and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm going to both sides the issue.
Which, like, I wouldn't even be surprised if Putin was like, all right, I'll give you this political win so I can continue to have influence. Like, I would not be surprised if that's actually what happened. That would be something crazy. And he also wouldn't call Putin a war criminal, which is just kind of like a Libby thing to get him to say.
I guess. Whatever. Whatever.
I also thought it was really funny that Desantis ran an ad during the town hall. I don't know if any of you watching at home caught that, but I thought that was hilarious. It's just like a regular ad.
So petty considering that he's like the biggest loser for like the night anyway, because like Trump's getting on here further cementing himself as the GOP guy.
You said Ron
like,
Sanctimonious.
CNN put him in a room full of ardent supporters just howling at anything that he said, unfunny or not. Just going crazy, showing the 3 million people that are watching and however many people are going to be watching the coverage of it that people love this guy.
Yeah.
And Ron hasn't even announced a run yet.
Ron hasn't announced a run, and that's what made me confused as to why he even put an ad in the first place.
Yeah.
To me, that indicates that he's going to run. I don't know when they paid for the ad spot, but the town hall was only announced like a week or two ago, so it had to have been pretty recent. But yeah, he's paying for an ad spot on CNN. Can't be cheap because it's CNN. It's in front of 3 million people.
Primetime, former president on.
With the former president on. You're paying for this to juxtapose whatever ad you're running with Donald Trump's performance. Obviously, you've thought this through. It shows me that he wants to run, but I don't even think at this point he's in a position to announce at all. I mean, I don't know what he's doing.
I don't even know if they've worked it out within the Florida legislature to change that law that says a sitting governor can't run. So it's like at this point, I feel like the closer we get to the election, like the less I think he's going to actually try and make a run. And the more I think it's just going to be Trump versus Biden again, part 2.
I mean, debates are, if we go by the calendar that's being set up by the commission that decides all of this, are only a few months away.
Yeah.
Even if Trump decides he's not going to do it, DeSantis, if he is going to run, would have the opportunity to debate and get a platform. He hasn't announced it. Who knows if he's going to?
My ideal timeline, something that I just personally think would be so funny, is if we could get a Ron DeSantis town hall and then get the Pudding Fingers ad placed during it.
Jesus Christ.
Wouldn't that be sick?
So
Wouldn't that be
good.
sick? Imagine that. Imagine they're grilling Ron about like I don't know, book bannings. Or Disney, and he's like, actually, I hate the mouse. Fuck Bob Iger. I'm gonna remove the monorail, whatever.
Yeah.
And then cut to an ad, and he's just
Ron DeSantis loves putting his fingers where they don't belong. Just an immediate cut. Caitlin Collins says, we'll be right back. Then it's just
now a word from our sponsors. Ron DeSantis.
And then the three swirls. The three swirls. That would be too good. That's like the perfect timeline. We'll see if we get that.
That's a golden timeline right there.
Oh God, a Ron DeSantis town hall would be so good. Oh my! It does make me wonder why CNN. Well, like we know, obviously Trump's the front runner. He's the one that's favored to win. But if CNN wants to be this, like, if they want to be reborn into this fair middle kind of convener of conversations around politics, then why aren't they doing town halls with the other Republican candidates? It seems like they just did it for the views, right? Like that's what it seems like to me.
Had to have done it for the ratings, for the ad money.
Yeah.
But like other than that, I just don't understand why CNN is trying to make the shift. Like, do they think that the CNN name has been dragged
Communist News Network,
rightfully dragged through the mud? Like, so well, rightfully and unrightfully. You know what I mean? Like they suck and all, but they don't suck for the reasons that Republicans think they suck.
Right.
I digress. Like everybody hates CNN. How do they think that they're going to recover from this? Just by having Trump on and delivering him like points? I
don't know. But so that's a rundown of what actually happened during the town hall. Those are all the things that Trump talked about, or all like the important things that we had written down. But I guess the real question that's been being asked a lot is, was it responsible for CNN to do the town hall with Donald Trump?
Yeah.
And to start off, I think the question's a little bit misguided. And I saw AOC tweet about this like 20 minutes into the town hall. She was already mad about it. And I get it. Like, I get that critique. And we obviously need to ask that question.
Yeah.
But I think the point that a lot of people are missing is that although the town hall did kind of suck, especially because CNN didn't do a very good job pushing back, you might miss the opportunity to highlight how insane Trump's actual positions are. And suddenly all we're talking about and all that's in the headlines is horrible CNN town hall and not, Trump said that he might ban abortion federally or something like that. Like, I think the first critique should be Trump is saying all of these lies. He's making fun of someone who was found to have credible allegations of sexual abuse against Donald Trump. He's doing all these terrible things, and we're kind of just talking about CNN immediately. Again, I get the critique.
That's what should be blasted all over the media. Like, instead of them running highlines, like Trump makes fun of person he sexually assaulted. The headlines are CNN platforms Trump irresponsibly, and then buried within the article is the bit about how bad it was for him to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, that should be the headline.
Right. Or Trump says he's going to rip families apart if he wins presidency again. Right. Like, that should be the headline. That should be the thing that we're highlighting. But unfortunately, we are all just consumers of media in this country. And I get, like, it is a fair critique, and it's a conversation that needs to be had if platforming is responsible by someone as big, or I guess as small now as CNN.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the first conversation should be, what is Donald Trump actually saying, and how can we use that as ammunition against him? But that wasn't the conversation off rip, and that was a little disappointing.
And it's like a weird conversation to have, because obviously, like, Anderson Cooper went on his show. Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper, I think the next day went on. Anderson Cooper said something along the lines of, if you never want to watch CNN again because we did this, like, I understand.
Oh, wow.
Just,
I didn't know he said that.
They both came out against it, just flat up, straight up.
That's crazy.
And then MSNBC ran a segment. I watched it this morning on, like, the Mehdi Hasan show. Like, talking shit about how he's dope.
So cool.
Yeah, talking shit about how CNN shouldn't have done that, stuff like that, and it's like, oh my god.
Well, yeah, and it's like, it's good to have that critique, but again, I feel like it showcases a little bit of a lack of discipline on the left to immediately just throw your hands up and say, I can't believe that they gave Donald Trump the chance to speak like this. Like, yeah, I get it, but if we want to launch a successful counterattack against Donald Trump and ensure he never wins an election again, then you got to start off by talking about what he talked about. Yeah, and it's just not what happened.
And it's like, that needs to be the primary focus, and then we can get into conversations about how CNN fucked up with this town hall specifically.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think that you can platform someone who was the former president of the United States. I feel like they're already kind of bigger than, like, anybody can platform.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you are going to have them on, dude spits dangerous ideas. He spits toxic rhetoric. He says very bad and awful and horrible things. We just went through a whole list of them. You need to get on there, and you need to position you need to put yourself in a position to be able to adequately push back and to ensure that he never looks good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to not have it in a room full of his supporters, because that was the biggest thing for me.
Oh, 100%.
Is a lot of the things that he did wouldn't have looked good if you didn't have a laugh track behind him. It's just like how when you watch a sitcom without the laugh track, it's really awkward. You know what I mean?
Right, and that did make me think back to like the Jonathan Swan interview. You remember that one? It was right before the election. Jonathan Swan
the Axios interviews.
Those
are great.
Was pressing Donald Trump on him basically lying about COVID numbers, etc. And people had their criticisms of that one because you can't always nail Trump down on everything. But there was no crowd. It was cut in the favor of Axios because they owned the video,
as it
obviously.
Should be.
And they could cut it however they wanted to, and they made him look terrible. I mean, it was ridiculous how he answered those questions.
He looked incoherent. He didn't like. I felt like one of the biggest things I thought when I was watching this is I felt like Trump was kind of witty with some of his answers. I can't remember what they were, but some of just the quick on his feet responses were really witty and kind of
that's what he does, right?
Put it back on it. And he's great at that. Like he's charismatic in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, everything he says is a lie, but that's what he does, right?
Yeah. And he's good at making himself, he's a narcissist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you need to be able to push back. Like when they were talking about election denial stuff, they had brought up the Georgia phone call, the find me 13,000 votes phone call.
Yeah,
and he said that was a perfect phone call. That was a wonderful phone call. I don't know what was wrong with it. Play the phone call.
You
are CNN. This is in your house.
You got it.
You can play the phone call. You can put it on the loudspeakers, make everyone in that room listen to it and reconcile with it. Put him on the back foot.
Or play the the Access Hollywood tape when he was talking about I didn't say this, I said it this way, and that was okay if I said it like that. Like you can play these things. Yeah.
Or instead of saying Trump, you said this, play the fucking clip.
Yeah.
Do something like that. Like have some things ready in the background to shoot back at him when he pulls out the receipts from the Twitter.
And Kaylin Collins said at the beginning, we agreed to no rules, we agreed to no stipulations, meaning that you could have done whatever you wanted, asked whatever you wanted.
He could have cut his mic.
Yeah. He should have.
Could have done some cool shit. You could have made fun of him if you're gonna host these things, especially as the political opposition, right? Because CNN, obviously the Democrat, the communist news network, you should be making him look bad. You should be going to lengths to make him look bad.
Yeah. So the counter argument, I think, would be if someone wants to say CNN couldn't have really done it differently, would be that it's only 3 million views total, right? Which is a very small percent, 1%, less than 1% of the United States population was watching. It's mostly already going to be partisan people who are watching, just like with debates.
Yeah.
And the way that people will see it afterwards is just, the clip industrial complex will come out and people will watch 1 minute, 2 minute clips of it on Twitter or wherever else. And I guess you could also say, and this is debatable, that Collins did everything she could without directly just debating Trump on stage, being a candidate
because it was
herself.
a town hall. It was supposed to be him answering questions from undecided and liberal and conservative voters.
The critique here would be that the problems that CNN experienced are no different than any other media event that Trump would be involved in. And I guess that's a fine argument, but I think the critique that you offered is correct. You got to make it a comedy special. You got to make fun of him because that's Trump's weakness.
That's what
right?
I'm saying.
That's his weakness. Is people laughing at him? Is him feeling as though he is being made fun of? He's being embarrassed. That's the only way to deal with him.
Oh yeah, the Axios interviews, I think again do a good job of that. I even think there wasn't a second presidential debate, but the town hall with Savannah Guthrie did a much better job at doing what CNN tried to do.
Yeah.
Savannah actually tried to push back against him. The audience wasn't cackling the whole time. They were told to shut the fuck up, as it should be, because then he doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, and Trump at that time, right, the context was different because Trump was the president and people were viewing him with a lot of, I don't even know if you could say disdain, but a lot of just, they were just uncertain about him because of COVID and everything else that was going on. And the way he acted in the first debate obviously spilled over into the town hall that he had. And the first debate was really bad for him against Joe Biden. And so, this was just it. The main problem that I have with what CNN did was, yes, they had a room full of his supporters, but also I feel like this is the first time that a lot of people are seeing him in quite a while. Yeah. And this is going to be their first impression of him being pretty high energy, him having answers for everything, especially if they're not fact checking
him having
themselves,
receipts,
him pulling out receipts. This is the first interaction that average Americans, average viewers are going to have with him since, like, I don't know, 2021.
Yeah.
And, like, because people aren't watching rallies like we're watching them, you know what I mean? So, like, that's the main problem I have with this is, like, CNN is functionally reintroducing Trump to the political limelight in a way where he can just speak directly to voters. And they did not do a good enough job at holding him to account.
So incredibly goofy.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. But there is an argument that I want to address that I've seen from a couple of libs that I want to take a step further. I've seen this argument from a couple of people that we can't expect companies like CNN and other, you know, liberal type organizations, or I guess centrist type organizations, to save democracy or really push back on authoritarians, because these are ultimately for-profit companies. They're not public utilities, and they operate for a profit, trying to make money, rather than operating in, you know, the at the behest of the people that are consuming their content.
There's incentives for them to be ratings whores. That's why they exist.
And fundamentally, like, yeah, I agree with this argument, but I think the people that are bringing this up don't really take it a step further to really work out the implications here. Because, yes, right, they operate for profit. They're a company. This is capitalism. That's exactly how the system works. Capitalism obviously incentivizes profit-seeking tendencies. That's how you stay viable in the market. You know all of the talking points. But if we recognize that for-profit media can't save us, we also need to, at the same time, recognize that the reason democracy is in trouble right now is because the profit motive doesn't encourage people to act in a way that protects society, and instead acts in a way to, I don't know, encourage them to platform people like Donald Trump because they're a waning media company that really needs the views. So if we're going to say that the profit motive is the problem here, let's not remove accountability by you know, not looking at systemic critiques. Like, yeah, I guarantee CNN did the town hall because they wanted views. And while it may be true that it's got to be the voters ultimately at the ballot box that, you know, prevent Donald Trump from winning again, we can still acknowledge that the profit motive is the problem here, and that democracy will never be safe unless we do something about it.
You can't have it both ways, right? Like, you can't simultaneously say that, okay, these things are bad, the things that Trump spews is bad, it's bad that he gets this much coverage, but then say, well, that's what for-profit companies are for, because there are no alternatives. Like, so then we just roll over and accept this? Or do we rightfully critique it and try to push the needle the other way to get more equitable journalism, more right journalism?
And that's the thing, is they just kind of take it for granted. They just say, well, they're not public utilities, they're just for profit, so this is how they're going to act. It's like, sure, yeah, I get the system incentivizes that, but there's still people making decisions. The problem is that the system encourages them to act in this way, and if we take those structural incentives away, maybe we can have a bit safer of a democracy. But you don't want to do that.
It's their critique. It's not finished. They need to take it a step further to actually solve anything. So you can't just wipe it away with, like, well, that's what companies are supposed to do. Well, you know, companies are supposed to make money, and if making money implies paying people in sweatshops 32 cents an hour and outsourcing all of our jobs overseas, then I guess that's just the way it goes.
It kind of just, like, deflects the problem in a way I didn't really like. And I was like, let's bring this up on the show.
Of course.
Also, one thing that I did want to bring up is just the way in which Trump just kind of got a platform to lie about the election. I know we already talked about the specifics of what he said, but I still do think it's crazy that the dude who did a coup, or motivated a coup in 2021 gets to just lie and promise to pardon people who did the coup if he wins again. Like, come on now.
And then it's like she tried to push back, but not in any meaningful way. She said something along the lines of, what about these 3, like, people who were found, like, I don't know exactly what they were found guilty of. It's like sedition or some shit.
The Proud Boys, right?
The Proud Boy guys. The 3 Proud Boys. And she told him what the charges were. And he said,
they had zip ties on them.
They had zip ties on him, yeah. And he's like, well, actually, I'd have to look into it. Of course he's going to fucking say that. Of course he's not going to give you any leeway. I don't know why liberals expect that of him. I don't know why liberals think that they can go into these debates or these discussions with Donald Trump and expect him to act in good faith.
Yeah, it's this adherence to this liberal-minded civility politics that is just insufficient in dealing with authoritarians, because they're not going to play by the rules. And if you're trying to battle with them on rules or norms that you think are established, you're going to lose every time.
Put Trump on the show. Put Trump in the 3rd seat, and he's getting bullied. He's getting bullied for
rolling clips.
2 hours.
I'm
coming through with the clips. I'm not even giving him headphones. He's not even going to get to hear him, but you will. And then he's going to be like, what's that? And I'm like, idiot. I'm bullying him. I'm making him look bad. I'm doing what I should do.
Blasted by Secret Security or Secret Service behind us.
They're standing right there.
But right out of frame. just got a gun trained on our heads.
You just see the laser pointers just on our foreheads, and then all of a sudden, I press one soundboard clip, and it's over.
Yeah. So ultimately, pretty bad. Not very happy with CNN about this.
No.
Could have been better. Obviously, there's going to be more events with Trump in the future.
But
That's
also
unavoidable. But
not happy about the way that the media has focused on the like inside politics side of it instead of the content Trump actually said.
Right, exactly, yeah. CNN, you can even have a conversation about, like, did Trump really perform well, that kind of thing. Obviously, Trump and Joe Biden, they're both sunsetting, right? They're getting old. Trump is 76, Biden's like, 82 now, 81, something like that.
Damn.
They're both very, very old. But at the same time, news organizations like CNN are also sunsetting. And we need to find a better way to do these things.
They're desperately trying to hold on to ratings.
Have we not learned anything about how to deal with this guy? You got to make fun of him. And I'm not just gassing us up. I know that's our whole operation. You know what I mean? Like,
97 episodes.
Yeah.
That's what we've been saying.
All we do is just, like, make fun of people and laugh at them. But it's an effective strategy for politics, especially today.
God, I do it for the love of the game, too.
If there's one thing authoritarians, if there's one thing fascists hate, it's being made fun of. It's feeling like they're not being taken seriously. That's what makes them lose control of themselves. Yeah, and you got to do that to Donald Trump.
Again, it's like fascism, one wholly unserious position.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, they're fucking goofy. It's not real. We've talked about the pitfalls of it over and over and over and over again. They will not act in good faith. So why should you?
Yeah.
Why should you?
Well, and it's that, and it's also fascists feed off of this assumption that they are just the same in terms of political actors as everybody else.
Yeah.
Because then they get treated equally compared to, say, like a centrist or a leftist or a liberal or whatever it may be. And because they don't play by the rules, they just have an inherent advantage over everybody else.
You cannot both sides fascism. You cannot marketplace of ideas fascism out. Because if you could, we wouldn't have Nazis running around today.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't have it.
Right.
White supremacy would be gone, but it isn't.
Yeah. Sunlight is not the greatest disinfectant. You gotta squash it by making fun of them.
That's right. That's the boot that'll crush the ant that is the fascist.
Anyway, moving on. It's almost June. And societal collapse is looking
Looming
at us from the abyss.
It's like a cloud coming over the horizon.
A lot of you might be excited for summertime. Summertime might be accompanied with the apocalypse.
Summertime might be hyperinflation, spending your life savings on a loaf of bread.
Yep.
More
bank failures. If you are surviving off of benefits from the government in any capacity, if you rely on them in any way, stop it.
Really, summertime might just bring with it the reality of what conservatives say that Venezuela is, but here.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to be like the juxtaposition, like if we're in a book or like a movie or something, the juxtaposition between the total chaos of the country and the beautiful splendor of the natural environment in the summer is going to be crazy, right?
It will be nuts.
It's going to look beautiful outside, but also you can't make ends meet anymore.
The contradiction will be crazy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be wild. The sky's going to turn red like you went into K-Lid. It's going to be nuts.
Rivers running red with blood. The plagues, actually.
If you don't know what we're talking about, it's the debt ceiling. A topic that, or really a function of the government nobody should have to know about.
Yeah.
A function we shouldn't have to talk about because it's boring and nobody cares.
Real.
But highly consequential.
Yeah.
And what we say June because it's coming due in June. Apparently, June 1st is when things are going to start to go poorly.
Unless they extend it because they can do that, but they don't want to.
Well, right. That's the whole contention is if Republicans are going to let it get extended. But Janet Yellen tells us, the Treasury Secretary tells us that June is when things are going to start to go bad. That's when we're going to run out of our money reserves
until it gets extended.
Until it gets extended, maybe or maybe not. We really don't know what's going to happen here. But a quick recap of the debt ceiling for listeners that may not be aware. Perhaps you're just tuning in. Perhaps this is your first episode.
New listener every episode.
Or maybe you just forgot. So let me give you guys a quick rundown of what the debt ceiling actually is. So the United States government runs at a deficit, right? When we're paying our bills, when Congress approves what they're going to pay for the coming year, the coming whatever period of time, they don't have the money to do it. We run at a deficit. We have run at a deficit for the last 60 so years, except under Bill Clinton for like 4 years we were running at a surplus. But other than that, the U.S. government runs at a deficit, which means that we have to borrow in order to pay for everything that we want to do. So Congress authorizes the Treasury Department to borrow from other countries up to a certain amount to pay our bills. This is what the debt ceiling is. And this authorization also allows the Treasury to sell our debt to other countries and also U.S. citizens in the form of bonds as a means of either paying back debts, so getting money to pay back debts, or continue to pay for whatever programs we want to pay for, right? So because we have an enormous amount of debt, The debt ceiling both, again, allows us to borrow money to pay for our programs and allows us to pay back debts. So if we don't raise the debt ceiling, it means we don't get the money that we want to pay for. Yep. For our various programs. People will lose jobs, obviously, and we default on our debt, which means all kinds of horrible things. The U.S. debt is always bought by other countries. People always treat it as a secure investment because we always pay it back. We always service the interest that we have on that debt.
Never default on our loan.
Right, exactly. So the debt ceiling is just this number that Congress gets to set that decides how much we can borrow. And if they don't raise that number, we can't borrow anymore. We can't borrow money to both pay back our debts and we can't pay for any more government programs.
I wonder if other countries like see the debt ceiling discourse and like, man, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Like the intern that decided to make the investment, like, hey guys, what if we upped our investment in America's debt by, say, 5% over the next 5 years? Shitting himself right now. He's shitting himself.
Whatever guy runs their Treasury departments is looking at their reserve of USD.
Dude, fuck.
I literally told them to purchase 3 billion more USD this year.
I can't take it anymore.
Bro is just like shaking, staring at the door of his office.
Freaking out, like, please, guys, I'm sorry.
And here's the critical note. Okay, this is what you all, if you take nothing else away, this is what you need to take away. The debt ceiling doesn't spend more money.
No.
It borrows money and services debt that we've already taken out. The money spending process occurs when Congress allocates money for the budget.
Yes.
That's when the money goes away.
Yes.
That's when the Treasury uses money that Congress said it could spend. It doesn't mean that money gets spent when they raise the debt ceiling. It just makes it so we can pay back stuff and pay for things we've already paid for.
The debt ceiling is quite literally an arbitrary number that determines how much money we can borrow. Nothing has ever happened anytime that Congress has raised the debt ceiling. They just keep doing it. Usually every 4 years. Now it's been a weird thing that we've been doing yearly, just so that they can squeeze out some like political points and political power from it.
Exactly.
And that's why we're in the position that we are in today. And that's why that intern is freaking out. That's why the treasuries of other countries are fucking pissing themselves right now.
It's really because if we default, right, all the USD goes haywire.
And if USD goes haywire, the world goes haywire.
Global economy is done, right? Because USD is the reserve currency in all of these countries. USD is obviously our currency. And we won't be able to pay for programs anymore. That means things like veterans benefits are gone. Social Security is gone. If you benefit from Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff is just gone. Which, funny enough, is going to be gone either way.
We got SNAP going away. We got Medicare going away. We got Social Security going. It's either we default on our debt and all these things go away, or we raise the debt ceiling and all these things go away as terms for raising the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
Notice how conservatives have put us in a catch-22 that is only worse for you.
Yeah. And so that segues us perfectly into where we are right now. So as of today, we are still without a clean debt ceiling raise, which is always how it's been done, by the way, because Kevin McCarthy, House Republicans, and now some 40-some Senate Republicans thereabout have pledged to not pass a debt ceiling without spending cuts. And Joe Biden has said that you are going to pass a clean debt ceiling, and as we always have, we will deal with spending cuts when it comes time to budget, because the consequence for not passing a budget is a government shutdown, not a global economic crisis. That's how it's supposed to work. The government stops functioning when we don't get a budget.
Just
not the
ours.
Entire government.
Just our government.
Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
Not governments everywhere.
Yeah.
God.
And so that's where we are right now. Kevin McCarthy still hasn't really budged. I don't think anyone's really budged since we last talked about this. But we did mention, I think, last week that the House passed a debt ceiling bill that is House Republicans.
Yep.
And it wasn't even party line. I think I said it was party line last episode. There were actually, I think, like 3 Republicans or 4 Republicans that defected because they thought it was crazy.
Word, okay.
I think they had 1 vote to spare. That's that George Santos vote right there. But they did pass the bill. It was $1.5 trillion in raising the ceiling. But it also applied cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, green energy programs, it blocked student debt forgiveness, rescinded IRS funding, and tons of other things.
I think rescinded all of the new IRS funding from Build Back Better, or whatever that ended up getting called.
It basically undid everything Joe Biden has accomplished over the last 2 years and rescinded some money towards welfare programs.
And a little bit more.
Yeah.
Plus a little bit of extra. The cherry on top, really. And to think that this all happened because Kevin wanted his painting.
Yes.
That's
he wanted
it.
the bust.
Because he made all of these concessions to do all of this shit with the debt ceiling because he needed votes to become speaker. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, and it's great because again, we talked about the position he's in, but for him, if you don't remember, it's he became speaker and he agreed for all these spending cuts.
Yeah.
The only way they think they can get these spending cuts through a Democratic Senate and signed by Joe Biden is if they hold the economy hostage through the debt ceiling. And if Kevin McCarthy passes a clean debt ceiling bill, he loses his job.
Yeah.
If he tries to pass this and Democrats don't sign on to it, economy collapses and it's his fault. If he I don't see any way out of it for this guy. You know what I mean?
He can't. What other options? He did it for the painting. You got it, buddy. Quit your job.
Yeah. There is an escape hatch that we'll talk about, but it's not up to him if it gets used.
Really?
So he's in some trouble right now. But functionally, at this moment, McCarthy and however many Republicans have agreed with him are functionally saying, you got to cut all these vital programs that sustain this economy and allow people to survive, or we're going to crash everything, or the country's just done, right? That's it. This has never happened. This is the kind of thing that ends empires.
The literal apocalypse.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, we've talked about the consequences before, but it's we don't get to pay for anything. Nobody has faith that we'll pay back our debts anymore. It's just over. That's it. You know what I mean? America's done.
Whew.
So that's not great. And of course, as we mentioned, we saw Trump at the town hall support McCarthy in this move, which I can only guess is going to embolden him and the Republicans.
Because he's not president
which is not
anymore.
Good.
He's not president.
Now, apparently, Biden has met with congressional leaders, including McConnell, McCarthy, and Schumer, but I don't think much is happening in the way of negotiations for the debt ceiling.
Absolutely
But apparently they have been meeting. Some people have been arguing, and I think Joe Biden's even mentioned that this is a possibility, that the 14th Amendment might actually make this whole debate null and void.
Really?
Because apparently the 14th Amendment says, in one of the subsections, it says, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. And some legal people are taking this to mean you can't do this debt ceiling thing. That's actually unconstitutional.
That would be sick.
This relies on Biden's ability to actually make this happen, and I don't think
it relies on Biden's ability to make this happen, and it also relies on the body that oversees things that are constitutional and not constitutional, which it's not. It doesn't look good, folks.
Yeah, what are we just gonna wait on a Supreme Court decision before June 1st? Come on, that's not gonna happen. So that's one possible way that we can get out of there. There's also the $1 trillion coin, which who knows if that's gonna happen.
Oh, that'd be so cool. Give it to me, bro. I'll keep it. I'll hold it for you. I'll make sure it's safe.
But the one escape hatch that I was talking about is called a discharge petition in the House, where members can actually vote to force a floor vote in the House of a clean debt ceiling without McCarthy, or this works for really any bill. House members, if it's been in committee long enough or on the floor long enough, they can vote to just make it happen, because usually the process is the speaker decides what gets brought to the floor. But if they do this petition, then they can just bring it to the floor without him. This is really the only way I see the debt ceiling getting raised. And even then, I don't know if the Republican votes are there to make it happen.
And they just need 4 or 5 of them?
4 or 5 Republicans.
So, oh my God, just get some nobodies from Texas or what's another state that's just Texas or Florida. Everybody's crazy there. A flyover.
Yeah.
Just get some of the Republicans from the flyovers to defect a little bit. I promise nobody's gonna remember come time for their re-elections.
But the problem is also, and this might be less of a problem in the Senate, but there's 43 Senate Republicans that have said they won't vote for a clean debt raise, which means that's a filibuster-proof minority. That you can't really get over. But I do feel like McConnell would break faster than Kevin, because McConnell won't lose his job, and he's broken on the debt ceiling before. McConnell's kind of just posturing. Kevin McCarthy's gotten everything to lose.
Hasn't Joe Manchin come out and said that he won't back the debt ceiling without cuts?
I don't know. I think he's toyed with it, but he'll fall in line, right? It's the debt ceiling.
It'll be
If he's the guy that sinks the global economy, if he's the dude that pushes us to midnight on June 1st, that's gonna be crazy.
Oh,
Bro wants to be relevant so bad.
Talk about lawlessness. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I've seen people talk about this because I pay attention to politics, obviously, but I haven't seen I haven't seen people treat this with as much seriousness as I thought they would, really. Things aren't feeling good. You know what I mean? Things are looking kind of bad.
It's gotta pass, right?
That's what it's kind of how I've been feeling.
It's gotta pass, but I am scared that it's gonna pass with cuts to vital programs that keep people afloat and help people survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hostage situation, right?
Yeah.
And Biden said he's not going to negotiate. I think that's the right move, is to force them into an uncomfortable position. But, I mean, brinksmanship with 2 weeks to go is crazy.
It's like they literally, like, as an American, right? And especially if you are an American who relies on government assistance, like many do.
Yeah.
Like they have a gun to your head.
Well, and it's not just that. It's that even if you don't directly benefit from some state or federal program, there's probably people in your community that do, and your local economy kind of relies on those people to use the money that they get or the money they get to save in those programs.
And everywhere
to keep the economy running,
everywhere relies on the U.S. dollar.
Also, like military spending, right? Like that holds up our economy.
Yeah.
If we don't have that, like I can't overstate, I can't exaggerate how cataclysmic it will be if we do not raise the debt ceiling.
They've got a bomb over the country that they are just ready to let go.
Like people are gonna die. Like they won't have access to what they. I don't. And it's crazy.
Even beyond that, it's even crazier that so many of these House Republicans are thinking that, like, oh my God, what if a Democrat runs an ad that says that I voted to keep Social Security for a clean debt ceiling raise? That's gonna kill me in the midterms. Oh no, guys, I kept Social Security and Medicare around. Oh my God.
I see. That's the thing is, I gotta believe at least a handful of House Republicans will break before the shoe drops.
I don't understand how they haven't yet.
You gotta think that they will, but maybe they've lost the plot so much that it's just not gonna happen. Who knows? Or maybe the discharge petition won't get done in time. Maybe, and like things are, even if we don't go all the way to like total global financial collapse, which obviously I hope we don't. Yeah. But even if we don't get all the way there, it's going to be pretty bad regardless if we get through like midway through June even and have to kind of work on to clean everything up afterwards. So even if we do get a pass eventually, it's just a matter of time. Like however long we stay through this crisis the damage is gonna build up quite a bit over time.
Yeah, like exponentially.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, it's also last year when debt ceiling talks were happening again.
All of last year.
Didn't they not vote on it till like October?
Something like
We've
that.
We've only had this new debt ceiling for a little bit, guys.
Yeah, it's just kicking the can.
Didn't the Treasury Department arbitrarily extend the deadline, like without Congress?
They were moving money around in accounts. Which is like, what do you mean?
Me too, guys.
If I tell that to the IRS, my house gets raided. If you say that, it's fine.
If I say, guys, no, don't worry about the money, I'm just moving it around, I'm going to get audited. Pretty bad. Oh my God. I'm moving money through the various Hiddo accounts to pay for these upgrades.
Just a great argument for the U.S. not being the world leader anymore. We are not handling it.
Holy shit! What a circus!
Yeah, no, it's not good. So that's a quick summary of the debt ceiling. Figured we should talk about it before the collapse does happen.
Yeah, so that you know why.
Exactly. We'll as long as we're still getting our financial backing, we'll keep producing episodes through the cataclysm. You know what I mean? Time to talk about some more bad news.
Yeah, time to get into the sad part of the show.
Trigger warning for gun violence. We're going to be talking about another mass shooting that happened in the United States of America. More depressing and anxiety-inducing news. There was a mass shooting that happened last Saturday in Texas. We didn't initially cover it. We had brought it up talking about some adjacent topic.
Yeah.
But we didn't go into further detail because we wanted to wait for more news to come out, and it's good that we did because we got kind of a full picture.
Boy, did some news come out.
We got a full picture of what happened that we wouldn't have had we covered it last episode. So the timeline of events here is pretty short, but I want to give it to you all just because it's what we always do. The gunman who was like some 33-year-old guy. I don't remember the exact details of who this dude was. Unimportant. We'll get to it later. But the gunman, holding many weapons, opened fire for about 4 minutes in an Allen, Texas mall, killing 8 people and wounding 7. Adults and children were among those that were hurt and killed in the shooting, so it was pretty deadly for only 4 minutes.
Yeah.
The gunman initially was using an AR-15 style rifle, so there you go. But that was only one of 8 weapons he had legally purchased and had with him to use, so pretty awful. And the shooting was ended rather quickly by a police officer who actually did their job this time, so that was a good thing to see.
I mean, even with that, I feel like that just right off the bat, right? Like the cop did his job, stopped the shooting, still went on to kill 8 people and injure 7.
Well, yeah, in like such a short amount of time.
Exactly.
Right?
Like you, a good guy with a gun is not going to stop the tragedies from happening.
Right.
From happening.
Like, you can only react so fast. If you're in a public place, there's going to be chaos and panic almost immediately. So the cop's going to take a while. Even if the cop is like super trained, ready to deal with this, it's going to take at least a minute to understand what's going on.
To be like,
and to react and to take action. So, yeah, if you have weapons that can just fire that quickly, that can hurt people that quickly, then yeah. And 15 people hurt or killed in 4 minutes is nuts.
Crazy.
Like that's crazy. A lot of people. And even though the police officer did their job here, this person, obviously like a heroic action, glad this happened, glad the shooter got taken down very quickly. It still doesn't stop it from happening, and that's ultimately the problem with the good guy.
And that's all that they say is good guy with a gun, good guy with a gun. Give teachers guns, and school shootings will stop. They won't.
Yeah,
because even cops can't stop them before 15 people are hurt. So like, there's no end to it without getting into gun regulation.
And as always, the debate around the shooter immediately turned into one, gun regulation, and two, the ideology of the shooter. And I want to start off with the second point first, actually. So, as I mentioned, the shooter is about 33 years old, according to the Associated Press. Shooter was also a Latino man. And this is important because when we're talking about what is his ideology, that was the main question around the shooter, because it always just now devolves into, was he right wing? Was he left wing? Like, what was the case here? In posts on social media that came out a couple days after this news broke, it revealed that he was a stated white supremacist, meaning he admitted to being a white supremacist.
In his own words.
And he had several Nazi tattoos, including a swastika and an SS tattoo on his body.
On his chest. Like straight up on his chest and arms.
Huge, right?
Huge. Massive tattoo.
Also, on the vest that he was wearing during the shooting, he had a right-wing death squad patch. So pretty unambiguous what his ideology is. But of course, this hasn't stopped right-wingers from denying that he's a white supremacist because he's not white. That's the argument. And then claiming that it's a psyop because it made them look bad.
They think like children. Like, it's crazy. Like, how could somebody who's not white, like, guys, I don't get it.
Yeah, now who's doing identity politics, right? And the crazy thing is, I'm watching this evolve in real time, right? Like, after the shooting happens, there's a couple of days, and then these photos show up online, like Tuesday, Wednesday. Like, I'm just watching this kind of news cycle unfold in front of my eyes. And as soon as the photo drops with him with like a Nazi tattoo and SS and stuff, they're still they start denying that this is even him. And it's on his social media platforms. And it's like, I guess we'll never know what his ideology is.
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Because it's
hard to pin down.
After those pictures had dropped, I had still seen accounts like End Wokeness on Twitter posting pictures of him like smiling with a shirt on, tattoos covered, and they're like, oh, really? You're going to tell me that this guy's a white supremacist? Yes. Yes, I am. Unambiguously, in the plainest English that I can imagine, yes.
Like, how are we having debates over this dude's ideology when he has a literal swastika on his chest?
And when he says it straight up with his words.
Like, you can't deny that this person, he had a right-wing death squad patch, which is just like, there's not even much analysis I can do here.
He did everything to tell you that he did this because he is a white supremacist. And you are still just turning around. You're closing your eyes. La, la, la. I can't hear you.
Which is where the PSYOP accusations came in, of course, when they started to say it was a PSYOP. But first, of course, you can be a white supremacist and not be white. Especially you can not be white in the way that Americans understand it, because a lot of white supremacy or just I don't know, Nazi ideology exists in other countries that aren't like predominantly white countries. In Latin America, there's a lot of this because of the discrimination based on either shades of skin or the distinction between people that are descendants from Spain or descendants from people that were indigenous on the land. Like that is the form that white supremacy takes. And also just like generally, it's an ideology. Anyone can adhere to any ideology, right? Like there's plenty of people in this country that are American born that are not white that I would call white supremacist or operating in the favor of white supremacist ideologies.
Some people hate themselves, like internalized white supremacy, things like that, and then they externalize it and do things like this, and yet you still look at it and deny.
And it's especially funny because every right-winger is always on about like, oh, this white person just hates white people if they're like defenders of Black Lives Matter or something. So they can understand it in that instance. They can call that white person a white-hating white person. But when it's just in another context, when it's a non-white person that's a white supremacist, suddenly it's a foreign concept to them. They just can't understand it. So obviously, like, yes, this can happen. He had Nazi tattoos. Like, there's no further analysis that we can offer.
Literally.
And then the PSYOP thing is just an admission.
I guess at that point, it's the cognitive dissonance can only go so far until you have to create an outward explanation. And I guess it took them a few days before they arrived on PSYOP.
If you can't accept responsibility in terms of like your ideology pushing this to happen, or if you can't denounce this person and move on and say like we unambiguously exclude them from our side of politics, they do not deserve to, all that kind of stuff. If you can't do either of those things, then like PSYOP's your only move, right?
Oh, literally. I mean, the white supremacists are already doing that.
Like that's the only thing you can do, because if it's not going to be like, typically when things like this in the past happened, it would be like, oh, we with full faith, we denounce this person. Yeah. This person is terrible. They did a terrible thing. This is not what, the party of family values would want. Mm-hmm. But now it's got to be a psyop because it makes them look so unimaginably bad that there's no other excuse for this happening.
No, I want this, but like not like that, more ambiguously.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, I don't even know. Like, I don't really know fully what the PSYOP argument is. Probably that, like, the FBI was involved somehow, which is like...
The FBI is trying to make conservatives look bad. The FBI is trying to pin this on right-wing groups, and then I'm sure they're going to tie it into the Nashville shooting and say, well, look, that manifesto never came out, but all this is coming out about this guy. Mm-hmm. Whoa.
As if you didn't post it on social media. Like, you can find it. But, yeah, I mean, the FBI's probably got their finger on, like, most mass shooters that pop off.
Oh, they probably knew about this guy. You know what? Actually, with the Nazi tattoos and the Dutch pets, they knew about him. I'm sure they had a whole file.
Of course, like, the FBI always knows about these people. They often just don't act to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, but that doesn't prove that it's a PSYOP, right? Like, this guy was a Nazi and motivated by Nazi beliefs. Nazis hurt people.
A shame that we have to, cover shootings still. Like this. Yeah. And that,
once a month,
two,
right?
we have to cover this one in this way.
Yeah.
Just the most unambiguous shooting. There's no speculation to be had about motives here. There's nothing. There's no further analysis you could do other than talk about how shitty conservatism is as a whole and how far gone that right-wingers are. Mm-hmm. And just the lengths that they will go to defend their own ideology.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. It's, again, like, there's no analysis I can really offer. I don't even know what to say about this. If we go back to the first point about gun regulation, though, naturally, this is the conversation. It always is. It's always like, are we going to regulate guns? We need to do it further. The liberals scream out that we need to do something about it, which we do. Conservatives come up with some new argument about why gun control is unacceptable. And that shouldn't surprise anybody, right? Like, Uvalde was almost a year ago in the same state. And we got a pitiful, insufficient piece of gun regulation that, after 24 children were killed and the police did nothing about it? Of course nothing's changing.
No, really?
Because we got background checks, red flag laws, a couple of other things, closed a few loopholes out of that legislation, and nothing's going to change.
And then it's like, did those loopholes even close? Is the gun show loophole even closed? Or are they going to find more weird loopholes? Because I know there's a lot of weird loopholes about gunsmithing too. Oh, well, actually this part is banned, but we don't want to affect artistry. So if you smith your own guns, that's actually super cool and good.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a broken country. We, as always, we deal with these problems unseriously. I nothing to say. Just another mass shooting in America.
Love that. Yeah. And I guess if we're moving on to another bit of bad news, this one, there's a little more analysis that we can have
I love analysis.
With this one again.
Favorite.
But basically, a new Florida law will now allow healthcare professionals to deny healthcare on the basis of moral, ethical, or religious beliefs.
Florida just popping off again.
Yeah, you guys thought that we ducked transphobia this week? Never. Frankly, you guys thought, wow, we're this far in the episode and there's no transphobic news coming out. You're like, oh my God.
Trump wasn't asked about trans issues, said nothing about it in the town hall, wasn't covered. No transphobia in the debt ceiling talk, no transphobia in the shooting.
I might
We're
be able
gonna
to
get out of here.
The show's got to be almost over. Wrong, actually.
Any of our non-conforming listeners are like, oh, finally a week where I'm not on the chopping block. A week where I can just even though things are broken and falling apart, I
can have a moment's respite. I can rest at the bonfire.
My identity can have a moment of peace. No. You're never safe.
Never. Not once. God damn it. But anyway, so this is Florida Senate Bill 1580. It's titled Protections of Medical Conscience.
Jesus Christ.
So nuts, right?
Yeah.
And what this bill allows is it allows doctors and other people in healthcare, from medical record keepers to the people in hospital labs and insurance companies, to deny care based on a, quote, sincerely held religious, moral, or ethical belief.
Nice.
Religious, moral, or ethical beliefs are not further defined at all anywhere within the text. It is left just as ambiguous as it was when I read it to you then.
Wow.
So, be with that what you will.
See, I wouldn't be surprised if this sees a lawsuit that goes up to the Supreme Court or something
and they
like
overturn a pivotal non-discrimination decision.
Right, or it's just lumped in with that case that's going to be at the Supreme Court for making websites for gay couples or whatever it may
Something
be.
like that, yeah.
Like this just allows for discrimination in medicine, which is a lot more important than your like ability to marry, I would say.
Yeah.
Like your ability to survive and get adequate health care is probably a bit more consequential to your existence than marriage. Not that marriage isn't important, right?
It's funny because this would absolutely get challenged. Like it would appeal up to the Supreme Court because there are existing protections from Supreme Court, like case law from precedent, protecting discrimination on the basis of sexual identity. This bill almost explicitly says that they can discriminate on the basis of sexual identity. But before that, it makes sure that any doctor that does want to discriminate against somebody for religious, moral, or ethical reasons, however bullshit they may be, cannot be disciplined by medical boards and licensors.
Wow, this is like in law now? It
passed. He signed it. Ron DeSantis signed it 2 days ago. Senate Bill 1580.
So it is just the discriminate against whoever you want bill.
Yeah, nuts. And so during the session where they're debating the bill, within the Florida legislature, bill lawmakers cited their Christian beliefs and talked about why trans people shouldn't be existing in the first place, just on floor debate, regular floor debate.
They're just admitting that this is the purpose of the bill.
Regular Florida legislature conversation. Sadly, the bill explicitly states that these conscientious objections cannot be based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Florida Democrats attempted to add gender identity and sexuality to that list, but obviously they failed.
It just got voted down.
It is an anti-LGBTQ law. Okay. Like after all that, so by omission, this bill is there to discriminate on the basis of gender identity and sexual orientation, which is a protected class. Which is like weird.
And what's interesting to me is my immediate thought outside of gender identity and sexuality is like, okay, what if my religious belief is that black people don't deserve health care?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they draw it in here and they say, okay, you can't discriminate. Like this is a discrimination bill. You get to discriminate, but not this much. You get to discriminate against groups that I specifically don't like. That's what this is.
Exactly. And it's like, it's also weird because they're listing like already like protected classes. Sexual orientation is a protected class. It's almost like this bill exists, one, to be bigoted, but also exists, again, to be challenged up to the Supreme Court and overturn discrimination.
Yeah.
Like, and overturn, like, previous discrimination precedent and make it so you can discriminate against gay people again, right?
It is wild that, like, the Federalist system, the idea of it is that you have, it's like a layered cake, right? Like the tiers at the top have sovereignty over the tiers at the bottom, but at the same time, the tiers that are in the middle or at the bottom have their own kind of sovereignty over what they want to do. But it is crazy that we're in a pretty strange time where state legislatures are just intentionally violating constitutional mandates given by the Supreme Court in hopes that they'll get overturned because they know it's in their favor right now. It's like, it's all fake at that point.
It's broken.
None of it's real.
As soon as the bottom is governing the top, like you know that you fucked up and it doesn't work anymore. Send that one to the Federalist Society.
Yeah.
But anyway, like the obvious implications of the bill are obvious, right? Surgeons will now be able to deny gender reassignment surgeries, just citing moral, ethical, or religious objections. Doctors will be able to deny general care for trans-related issues. And beyond that, like those are explicit. Beyond that, I have to wonder, can a doctor now refuse to treat a gay guy with AIDS?
Probably. That's what I was thinking
Can they
too.
refuse to treat you because you are gay? Or does it have to be a medical issue related to being gay?
Right.
You know what I mean? Can a medical record keeper now refuse to keep your records because you're gay?
Right.
Or refuse to record that you are a gay person with AIDS?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
because they explicitly protected record keepers in this too.
Yeah.
It's in the text.
Like Republicans now, like obviously they are harshest on trans people, but they try to make the argument like with the LGB Alliance or with the Gays Against Groomers group, like those kinds of groups. Republicans will try to position themselves as in favor of freedom, but just trying to protect the kids. So like gay people are obviously fine because they're just doing their own thing in the minds of the Republicans. But here they're explicitly saying like, sexuality, like you can discriminate against someone based on their sexual orientation, which kind of just gives the plot away. It's like, we don't like gay people or trans people or anyone else.
100%.
Like, what are we doing?
100%. It's nuts. And then another explicit implication of this bill bill, right? If a doctor could refuse to treat anyone who's gotten a sexually transmitted disease if they don't like that they're not married, because again, that would be a religious and moral consideration that they have to make.
Yeah.
If they don't like that you're having sex outside of marriage, they can deny treatment
This
for
is God's punishment.
a sexually transmitted disease. Because they morally object to the premise why you got the disease in the first place.
Nuts. What are we doing?
That's what I'm saying. But then you can take it another layer. You can go even deeper and beyond like the targeted anti-LGBTQ-ness of the law. Could a doctor then go and deny care to an obese person because they don't like the lifestyle the life choices that they've made to get to that point? Can you be denied care based on that? Could you be denied? You know how like so many ER stories are like some dude came in with shit shoved up his ass. Could you deny care for that person because you don't like the sexual deviancy of the act? You morally object to that? Like, there are a whole host of places that you can go with this that are way beyond just being anti-LGBTQ.
See, my hope is that doctors and, you know, anyone else working in medicine aren't going to discriminate because like they got into the profession because they want to help people. Like, that's my hope, obviously. But I can't imagine a scenario where there's one especially hateful doctor that uses this law to take advantage of their bigotry and hurt people.
Another thing, I don't think doctors would have to give abortion care now. Because
wow,
they can morally object to abortion care, and that's not really they're not really doing it on the basis of your gender. You just happen to be, abortion care just happens to be related to like sex, to your
and the left doesn't even know what a woman is.
Exactly. And the left can't even define what a woman is. So how can I be discriminating based on that if nobody knows what these things are?
That's crazy.
It also then extends to pharmacies. Pharmacies can refuse to dispense abortion medications now.
Of course.
Like, it's like, come on. Like, this is fucked. And well, yes, I'd imagine the majority of doctors are still going to care for these people and provide care. There are going to be some that don't, and that's horrible and stupid, and they should face discipline, but they can't anymore. Just by passing this law, you're kind of admitting that you're okay with a world where these people never have care.
Yeah.
This is, again, like another step on the trans genocide.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, it's absurd.
It's creating as many obstacles as possible to trans people existing here in the state of Florida. But if this law or similar laws get passed elsewhere, then it's just in the country as a whole. Right, because you're creating as many opportunities for them to be discriminated against as you can, and was this bill phrased as like a religious freedom bill?
No, it was phrased as like the part of it was anti-religious discrimination on behalf of doctors, and part of it was like doctors' rights to be able to like do these things.
I'm glad they're just dropping the pretext of freedom. Because usually when it comes to this stuff, like when we would talk about like the cake maker who doesn't want to make a cake for a gay wedding, the idea there is religious freedom. You can't tell them who they have to make a cake for because it's restricting freedom. Yeah. But I'm glad they're dropping that pretext because the argument against it is you obviously cannot be free if you're being discriminated against.
Yeah.
If you are not equal to everybody else, how could you possibly be free? But I didn't even need to make that argument because it's not even present.
Because they don't even care.
Yeah.
They don't even care that your freedom extends only so far as it doesn't impede someone else's freedom.
Right.
That just doesn't matter because they just functionally don't care about it. And then it also makes me wonder, like, remember, it just keeps going because there are so many things that this bill would allow doctors to do. Could a doctor now not treat a smoker? Could a doctor now could an oncologist refuse care for a patient who has lung cancer because they have a history of smoking? Can you refuse care to someone who is having an overdose? Can you refuse to dispense Narcan because you don't like that they made the lifestyle decision to become a drug addict?
Yeah.
Like, it's so much more than I think even what these legislators think it is. Because obviously they've got fucking red and they're seeing red just thinking about
malice
trans people.
In their eyes.
Actual malice in their eyes when they just think about trans people. That's the intent with this, but that's not where it's going to end.
Yeah. Did you see, this is a story from a couple of weeks ago, but it was I think a state legislature, maybe even like a city council member who straight up just said like trans people are demons.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we got people out here just giving the game away. It's 2023. The country's become more generally speaking, the country's become more inclusive than it ever has been. Certainly the newest generation of people coming into politics, like you and I, are more inclusive and accepting and tolerable of other people, more so than ever in history. And we're just seeing an extreme backlash. Like people literally calling trans people demons. Like, what are we doing? That's insane.
Nuts. I don't know how like the discourse has regressed
Yeah.
this much, even in like, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like gay marriage hasn't even been a thing for 10 years. It hasn't even been a thing that long.
Yeah.
And Clarence Thomas has already put it on the chopping block.
Yeah. They're chomping at the bits to get rid of that kind of stuff.
God, I don't get it.
I really hope we're at a cultural point where most doctors, or like all the doctors, all medical professionals, just do not even play with this law.
Yeah.
They obviously continue to serve everybody. I wouldn't imagine people that are doing surgeries for trans people now are going to just stop doing them. I hope not. I hope we're at a cultural point where that's not the case. But yeah, you can imagine one doctor, a couple of doctors in places where people need them are just going to be like, yeah, no, you're trans. I don't agree with that.
You fundamentally, you should never have to worry about going to the doctor because you need any form of care that a doctor provides. You need medical help for something, and you shouldn't have to worry about them denying care on the basis of your identity.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have to worry about them denying care at all, but like, god damn, bruh.
That's crazy that we're at a point where we're just saying, like, you shouldn't expect to be discriminated against. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I don't understand.
In a world where there's so many more important issues than like allowing discrimination to happen, why are we still talking about this? Like the existence and acceptance and inclusion of other groups.
It's like they just create issues to distract you from the class issue. You know what I'm saying?
To keep you from becoming class conscious.
They have to be bigoted in other ways to protect their financial interests.
It's that, and they do literally hate trans people.
They do.
Yeah,
The
hate's real.
The hate is real. The religious hate is real.
But it also serves the capitalist class to prevent us from becoming conscious.
And we're gonna also just re-enshrine the religious slant to everything is nuts. Like, actually, this is for religious people's rights.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Religion's not an immutable character.
It's really not. You can choose it.
It's not. You can change. You can convert. People convert to marry people sometimes.
Yeah. And you know what? Like, straight up, some people believe stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes your beliefs suck. Debate me, and we'll decide who has the better belief system. Like, I don't care who you are. You don't get to just discriminate against people when you are in a position where you can decide the well-being of other human beings.
Yeah.
You don't get to.
In a world where it is literally impossible to prove or disprove the existence of God, I do not want to live my life based on some rules that people interpreted and made up and wrote down in a book thousands of years ago in the face of people who are actually suffering here right now.
And we're operating off the basis that these the commandments within the Bible or something are already like decided and interpreted in a way that benefits conservatives. I do not believe for a second that Jesus Christ, if he is real or if he had been real, would hate trans people. Yeah. Are you the dude who gave to the poor? Are you kidding? Come on now.
The dude who hang out with the host killers and the criminals, as Spillage Village put it. He would not be out here like, oh yeah, you get the conservatives, they're doing everything right.
I've even
boycott Anheuser-Busch.
I've even seen like Bible scholars cite phrases, whatever they're called in the Bible scripture.
Phrase.
I've seen them cite
bars,
bars dropped in the Bible that like serve as evidence that like Jesus would have been supportive of trans people.
Exactly. Jesus would have loved Karl Marx.
Exactly. He would have read Marx.
Yeah. It's wild. It's wild how they've bastardized religion.
Yeah. It's bad. It's not good.
It's not good.
I don't support it.
It's really not. It's really not.
Before we leave today, though, a couple of extra news stories that I want to go over. Just a quick speed run of things that we missed this week. Minor stories, surprisingly, that could have been bigger had there not been worse things going on.
True.
The first one is that Tucker has announced he's bringing his show to Twitter.
He's
Tucker
back,
Carlson.
baby.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson is back. I think. What is he wholly independent now?
I don't know.
Is he working as like a con? Is Twitter going to be paying him to produce content, or did they simply just like say like, hey, we'll expand video features and you can host your stuff on our platform?
I don't know exactly what the nature of the contract, or if there even is one, is here. I do know though that Tucker in his contract, or I don't know if it's like a severance contract or what it was with Fox News, he was getting non-compete. He was getting paid $20 million to not go work for anybody else. $20 million a year.
But he's doing it for the love of the game. I told you guys.
Getting rid of $20 million a year to go talk somewhere else, which is crazy. Like,
talk on Twitter, probably to like a smaller audience.
Yeah, and that's the other take is like Twitter's used for like quick scrolling, reading things, and then moving on, watching very short videos. So I don't know how the whole Tucker Carlson.
You think I'm gonna fucking open the Bird app to listen to an hour of Tucker Carlson talk about some dumb shit?
Yeah,
no, never.
And the other point is that Twitter's already having a problem getting advertisers. I can't imagine anyone's gonna want to advertise on Tucker's show on Twitter.
Twitter is gonna become just like Fox News, and the only things you're gonna see on your scroll, you're gonna see Mike Pillow.
Of course.
What's up, guys? Mike Lindell here for the My Pillow, and you're going to see weird supplements, and you're probably going to see ads for, again, like the Senate Leadership Fund.
Right, yeah.
Really weird shit, or like America Coins.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I guess Tucker's on Twitter now. So
And then
that's
there's a new Twitter CEO.
That's true, yeah.
Elon
Woke
Musk
woman.
coming through.
Woke WEF woman, World Economic Forum, can't trust her.
See,
that's the narrative.
Crazy, because I saw one tweet about it talking about how, like, oh my God, this woman is awful. She follows Dan Bongino, a bunch of other conservatives. She follows Tucker Carlson, all these people. And then the next tweet was like, look at this woke woman who's taking over and going to ruin Twitter.
Right, and that's the thing. Is
I'm like, what?
It's kind of like a choose your own adventure right now. The WEF obviously is a conservative institution.
100%.
We've talked about it
billionaire
extensively.
conference.
Yeah, right. It's the billionaire club. All they do is plot how they're going to continue to dominate the world because they already do,
but not in an anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic way.
Right, absolutely. It's capitalism doing capitalism things. But the new CEO is obviously going to be conservative. You don't work at the WEF if you're not a conservative to some extent.
You're not like a CEO of like a company like this.
Probably shares an ideology with Elon Musk. Like even Elon Musk talks about like solving climate change. Yeah, which obviously he isn't going to do. But that's kind of like his whole thing with Tesla, right?
Like he lies about it. He gets on there like, oh yeah, we should do climate change, but also, guys, I just think in the short term, it's way better if we just burn, baby, burn. You know?
Right? Exactly. Right. He's like a conservative guy that claims to be in the middle. I'm gonna assume that she's the exact same. Yeah. But libs are gonna lose their minds about this because she's a conservative, and conservatives will lose their mind about this because they're gonna think that she is supposed to be the same as Elon Musk when in reality she kind of is, and they just don't criticize Elon Musk for it.
Yeah, she's just not gonna reply to a bunch of right wings accounts with some corny shit, with the sideways laughy emoji with interesting under just like a straight up just like I don't know.
Hey, this Nazi got banned. Can you get him back? Working on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She's not gonna comment just like interesting under, guys, did you know that black people make up 13% of the population but commit 50% of the crimes?
And that's like literally a post that Elon Musk was like, oh, interesting.
No, what Elon Musk commented on, it's that picture that's going around where it's like all of the different race on race like murder statistics, and it's like, oh, but the media only focuses on the white on black murder rates when all these other ones are so much higher. Elon Musk said, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Why doesn't the media talk more?
First of all, I think the numbers were just wrong.
Yeah, but it was also just a lie and misrepresentation.
Yeah, they were misrepresenting it by showing raw numbers rather than percentages, which actually work out to be quite even. But that's besides the whole point. The point is that Elon Musk interpreted it in the conservative way and said, oh, very interesting.
I wouldn't even say there was interpretation going on there. I'd say he's just fucking doing the thing.
Doing the racism.
Yeah.
So that's a new Twitter CEO. Very exciting. Of course, there's the George Santos news that we riffed on earlier today, which is pretty fun. Good. And then there is one tiny little news story that I noticed.
Okay.
There was some leaked audio from a Desantis debate prep in 2018.
Really?
Where Desantis was preparing. This might have been for his second debate. He ran against this guy named Andrew Gillum in 2018. He very, very narrowly won by like 2%, 1%, something like that. Okay. But Andrew Gillum was a black guy, right? Yeah. Moderate Democrat kind of guy in Florida. And Ron DeSantis had this moment where he was like, towards the end, where he said, Florida, don't monkey this up and vote for me. which he claims he didn't mean in a racist way.
That's crazy.
That's what he said on the debate stage. Don't vote for him, vote for me.
Oh, that's crazy.
And this leaked audio, we're not going to play it because the quality is very poor. But he was basically with his debate team trying to like recuperate from this, saying like, I can't even talk about race then. I don't want to be like Brett Kavanaugh or whatever. I don't know what the context was. But then there was also this moment where one of his debate preppers was like, next time you get on the stage, you need to write at the top of your paper in big letters, likable. And you need to remember to be likable, which I thought was really funny. And also Matt Gaetz was there.
Guys, I really have to remind myself to be a likable person. I have to actively try like super duper hard to be like a likable person.
Yeah, either some people got it or some people don't got it. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to be likable by being it. You just are or you aren't. And I also thought it was really funny that Matt Gaetz was like helping DeSantis in debate prep.
That's crazy.
Like Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz. Matt sex trafficker Gaetz.
Yeah.
Holy shit, bro.
He's going to implicate himself in these crimes. It's crazy. That was a fun little piece of news, like, I thought.
Ron, Meatball Ron, don't you remember when I was out to dinner with your wife with this young woman that I had crossed state lines?
She was older than 17, right, Tucker?
Tucker, you remember, you were there. Or Ron, you remember, you were there with me. We were in the bed. Nothing happened, right?
Just as trans issues are always permanent in all of our episodes, so is hating on Ron DeSantis.
And Matt Gaetz, really.
And Matt Gaetz, too, but Ron DeSantis certainly gets a name drop. Meatball Ron.
It's honestly just Florida.
Yeah, no, it's Florida. Florida's a bad place to be.
We should go down to Florida, base the pod out of Florida.
Ooh, yeah.
Get it right from
Florida
the
business.
Exactly, get it right there.
Speaking of things that are permanent in our episodes, we got to thank the patrons. We're always thanking our patrons. It's a permanent section in this pod because
people that keep the studio lights on.
People that allow us to service our debt, the immense debt that we're in. We really need help, guys.
That allow us to service student debt. You know, back when I was an undergrad,
we actually way over leveraged the Patreon money in U.S. bonds, and if the debt ceiling goes kerplunk, we're in trouble, guys.
Guys, we're fucked. We're fucked. We're just like that one bank. We're just like Silicon Valley Bank, bro.
Those are 10-year bonds.
Oh my goodness, we're fucked. We had to pull out.
No one's buying them off of us. It's bad.
I way over leverage my debt in buying U.S. debt. Guys, if the debt ceiling goes down, all the money I put into it's done. I'm fucked.
So that's why we need, if you're listening right now, we need you to get your name on this list.
Because if I put in a little more money, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like that one picture where the dude's mining for diamonds and he's walking away and it's right there.
You know, every gambler is eventually gonna win. You know, you just got to keep going.
99% of gamblers stop before they hit big.
That's right, because the statistics will law of large numbers.
Yep.
Eventually, it's got to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
to.
the more you lose, the higher your chances of winning are.
Precisely.
And the people that I think are really winning in this life are our patrons. So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Caden Kraut, Lord T the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Kotz, 40% Spite, Andrew Harris, Mike Japlinski, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Dylan B, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Bread, Joe Stenstrom, Austin Reed, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colin Cutts, Timothy Espinoza, Gregory Isn't My Name, Veryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Eliza, Crawfishin,
Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Moises T, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Jeremy Cadrep, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Daniel Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Aiden Taylor, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, Ellie N, Heidi Osgood, John Glover, Weed Thief 69, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Meatball Minion, Emma the Doot Slayer, Claire McMillan, Breezy B, Elijah Murray, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Magic Ian 95, and my mom. Thank you all so much.
Wonderful.
For supporting the show on Patreon. Keep in mind, we got that live stream coming up. If you want to give us some ideas, just let us know what you'd like to see.
Please let us know.
Things you'd like us to watch, like us to react to. We like reaction. We like reacting.
Some links to the Patreon DM. We can pull them up on stream.
Or let us know in Discord what you want to see.
Oh my God, exactly. Hit that Patreon chat.
Also, now that we're free from the shackles of undergrad, we're going to be doing some more community stuff in the Discord. So let us know what you'd like to do. We got some ideas cooking already, but let us know.
It's summertime, and I don't have a job yet.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Unemployment. Well, you're employed at Hiddo Media LLC.
Oh, that's true. I'm self-employed. Can't forget about that ever.
Don't ever mark unemployed on a government form, ever.
That's right. Bad idea. That'd be a lie.
Yeah, you'd be
and
committing fraud.
Nobody can lie anymore.
You don't want to George Santos
this fucked up world. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a good one.